What's up guys, welcome to another video. This is about the third time I'm filming this video because it keeps coming out the way not the way I really want it to. But anyway, annually I do these year in review videos and a little bit of what to expect for next year. I sort of do them every year, so continuing on that theme to keep going. Not much to say about 2022 that you don't already know that have been watching the channel. It has been a terrible year all round for us. Personally, business-wise, it's just not been a good year. You've all been privy to it, you've all seen what happened. Essentially what it came down to was we came into 2022 swinging. We were doing really well. We had all these grand plans to expand, finish the shed, you know, basically try and expand the business, get some more staff in and really sort of ramp it up was the plan at the start of 2022. And because of that, we sponsored some drivers at the start of 2022. We did a few things, probably overstretched ourselves, obviously committed to way too much work, overstretched ourselves with how much work we committed to, but it was with the idea that we were going to be expanding and getting more people and stuff like that. That's why we committed to so much work. Anyway, you all saw, that was a bad business decision. That was bad business planning. And then obviously we had some setbacks and some issues, which then compounded all of the work we had piled up. So from the dyno, shit in the bed, shitting the retarder in the dyno computer, that engine that blew up on the dyno, which we copped, we fixed. There was an engine combo that was bought that was sort of wrong that we sort of had to absorb as well. There was just so many business setbacks. So many business setbacks. And then having to move house in a hurry, hurting my arm, aggravating my injury. So having my injury aggravated and basically being very limited with the work that I could do, and then how much sickness we had throughout the year just because of COVID and young fellow daycare and Mrs. teaching and stuff like that. It was just a mess of a year. So not gonna make the same mistakes for the next year. So like, not gonna talk too much about the year gone, mostly because I don't want this to be a sad video because there is a lot of really exciting things happening to talk about. So keen to get into that, but basically, I know a lot of people sort of think we just don't want to be doing these projects. That's why they sort of get left, but it's not what happens. So what happens is obviously we're a business, we need to operate, we have overheads, we have bills to pay. We got an absurd amount of rent to pay with where we had to move to in a hurry this year, which sucked. So our overheads have been huge, and you've got to keep things coming in the door, work coming in the door to keep the money coming, to keep the bills paid and keep the lights on. Now we've talked about how these things, there is just so much unpaid time in them. There just is. That's how it is. And as we talked about, we understand it. That's the deal. It's not a problem, but we can't afford to just go and spend, a month or two spending all our time on a car like this, and still, basically keep things ticking over. So you sort of end up in a position where you have to take in tunes, obviously, to keep the lights on. And then what happens is, as you've seen, tunes hardly ever go to plan. You got a tune on the dyno, something happens, all of a sudden you got 3 days work of fixing it, which once again, not a problem on its own. As a tuner, it's part of your job. So it's not a problem on its own, we're not whinging about it, but it's just that time is usually not accounted for or not counted on or scheduled when we've got to fix cars from other tunes, and having to fix them then eats into the time we would normally spend on these. And that's what we found this year. It's been really hard to juggle both sides, which is what we're going to try and move a bit away from next year. But it has been hard. It is a young business. We're still learning as we go, always learning and progressing. But that's why these things sort of got so far behind, is because we had to keep the tunes coming. Tunes kept going wrong, you have to keep fixing cars. We might book two tunes for the week because that's sort of what we need to sort ourselves out, and then the rest of the time we'll be spending on something like this. But your 2 tunes for that week end up blowing out into 4 days, 5 days, and then all of a sudden you're a week down and you haven't spent any time on something like this, and then it's even further behind. So that's sucked, and that's what we're moving away from. But anyway, that's 2022 in a nutshell. Obviously, letting people down this year has been pretty rough. Obviously, with people like this, cars have been here forever and they've been way better about it than we have any right asking. But, we are letting them down by not being able to jump in and get it done because we don't have the manpower and the time, which is our fault for overcommitting. And then also the drivers we sponsored this year, realistically, we let them down quite a bit. So Brad with the R33.4, you will notice that car is now repainted, new livery. Those boys aren't running the onsong livery anymore. So obviously we still supplied him with what we wanted to do to his car and everything else, but the plan obviously for this year was to go beyond that and actually go and support them boys at a lot of their drift comps that they wanted to do this year. Obviously, because of how far behind we got with work, we spent pretty much another year just in the shed, not getting anywhere, not going anywhere and doing anything, which is also starting to really, really get on our nerves and make us hate what we do. So that's changing as well. But we didn't we weren't able to support the boys in that way, which really sucked. So we know we let them down as well. So you'll see that those boys have changed livery. I think a lot of the problem up until this year pretty much was that I don't think there were many good tuners in their area that they could get into or go to. So that's how they ended up sort of coming down to us and finding us, and we ended up developing a really good relationship with those boys. So we were taking care of them for a long time, but they do have now a tuner in closer to them that's actually really switched on and looking after them really well, which makes a lot more sense for them. So I think for them, they're in Yeppoon. For them to come down to us is like a 7-hour trip. That's why usually when they come down here, they stay the night sort of thing. But it's a big trip to come just for like a tune or a fix up. You know, when there's problems with Brad's car, it's really hard to sort of just get it here so we can sort it out. And then obviously if we're not going to support them at all these events, we're not there to sort it out either. So it was a shame, and we do feel like we let them boys down a lot, but they've got a good tuner close to them now that's looking after them really well. As far as our relationship with them boys, it's still all love. They're still the homies. Brad's still talking about painting our drift cars when they're done, which we're super, super keen for. And when we do finally get out and start going to drifting events and actually having some fun, it's still going to be all boys and cheers with those boys. They're really solid blokes. So still stoked, obviously, to be friends with them, but they're being looked after by a different tuner now, and that's why they're not running the onsong livery anymore, which is fine. We had a really good year. They had a pretty good year as far as the relationship went. Yeah, we just let them down a bit by not being able to support them properly, and it is what it is. It makes a lot more sense for them to be serviced by a tuner that's close, that can take care of their needs ASAP, and he's really switched on up there as well. So happy days there, but that was another thing that just sucked for 2022. But anyway, that's enough about 2022. I think that's everything I wanted to get in there. Yeah, bit of a sad sack year, which we're definitely trying to move away from next year in 2023. So we're finishing off 2022 pretty good. As you can see, shed is full of crap, all the crap from our house. So we are moving again. Moving sucks, but without going too much into it, we had this really, really amazing opportunity fall into our lap where we get to move to a house where we have very, very little overheads, very little rent. So works perfectly for us in our position. Going to be a lot smarter about it this time around, but it's a really good time in that it's cut our rent down hugely. So it's significantly cut down our overheads, which means that we now have to only turn over X amount instead of X amount to sort of keep ticking along, which opens up a lot of opportunity for me to spend my time a lot differently in 2023, which is what we're going to get into. But before we get into that, some of you will notice, and you would have seen on Instagram a couple of months ago, but the GU is gone. So the mighty TB48 is gone. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at me. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't want to sell it. I'm really upset about selling it. I still do plan on getting another one, but I know I won't get one that new with that low Ks ever again. So I am spewing about it, but basically what happened is, as a lot of you know, the way I swung the deal was that it was really the missus that needed a new car, but I was like, I'll get this because it's exactly what I want, and then we'll fix it. You can drive it in the interim, and then when I buy her a new car, I would get it back. But in the meantime, fuel went to $2.20 a litre. Obviously being a TB48 and still aspirated, it was not very economical, and she wouldn't have been able to even go anywhere in it anyway. She wouldn't be able to afford to freaking go anywhere. So it just got to a point like when I made the deal with the patrol and got it was right before we had to move, and that's when I hurt my arm and we started getting real sick and all that happened. So when we got it, it was, you know, things were all sweet. That wasn't too bad. But in the meantime, between that and getting it running, all the shitstorm happened. We ended up super behind on work, and it just was not the right time. It made more sense to sell it off because I did get it for a pretty good price because it wasn't running. We didn't do super well out of it, but we didn't go backwards. So sold it off, paid off a heap of debt, and essentially basically this opportunity had fallen into our lap with this house that was going to be very little rent. I saw an opportunity to offload the patrol, which we couldn't really afford to keep and run anyway, pay off a heap of debt and start 2023 with just as little overheads as possible. Because now that our overheads are so cut down, what we're going to be doing for 2023 is I'm only going to be booking work for one person. So as you guys know, Onsong Performance is going to be trying to sort of slow down on these sorts of jobs, these big conversion, big hour intensive jobs. Just for the simple fact that we just aren't at a point where we can deliver on them at this stage. We don't have the manpower, we don't have the facilities at this point. It's too much of a stretch. It's putting us in too much of a spot of bother. So Onsong Performance is going to be moving to, as we talked about, trying to go to just tuning and just engines, which is our best avenues for what we do. And for those things, I'm essentially just going to be booking work for one person. That way, when we have delays or setbacks, there's another set of hands here to actually catch up. Whereas at the moment, booking work where 2 people are going to be working at 100% capacity, every time there's a setback, which is often, there's no time to make that up. And that's why we end up just getting further and further behind. So a bit smarter next year about booking work for 1 person so that we can catch up when we need to, which is going to keep us moving along a lot better. And obviously with our overheads so cut down, we don't need to turn out a heap of work. So what that means for me then is that when I'm not needed on the tools, which is hopefully going to be fairly often, essentially my full-time job from this time for 2023 is going to be just the channel and the part shop. So Liam's been helping heaps with the part shop. He's been doing a really good job. It's been hugely appreciated, but Liam can only do so much from where he is and what he's doing. He doesn't have access to all the things he needs to basically run the shop on his own. So I still need to put in my half, which I haven't been able to do because we've been so busy. But my plan is to essentially just focus on the channel, focus on the part shop, instead of working my arm to the bone in an inefficient way on the tools, trying to swing tools with a broken arm. It's just not very efficient. It's not the best use of my time. But if I can really get the channel happening, make some better content like I've been talking about, and really get the part shop moving some parts, it's a much better way for me to try and bring something to the table for the business than just working my arm to the bone. So that's the plan. It's a really good opportunity that we're in that I can actually do that. So yeah, not going to squander this opportunity, going to be pretty smart about it. We've got a few things planned for 2023. And yeah, basically the plan is just to do more with the channel, try and be a bit smarter about the work we schedule and what work we take on and how much we work, because I got to say, you know, this is getting on our 3rd year of just basically doing nothing but working our ass off, like 7 days a week, and it's starting to get very old. So we're pretty keen next year to just do more with the channel, get out to more events, go and have some more fun, make some better content, and try and get that side of the business happening while we've got such little overheads. It makes the most sense. It's a really good opportunity. We're in a really good position now to do it. So it's sort of like now or never, I feel like. So we'll do that for 12 months and see how we go. And I'm pretty excited about it. So I'll be bringing back a lot more merch next year. I've got a lot of exciting announcements to come. That's about what's going to happen in 2023. Hopefully we'll finally be able to get some of our cars done in that time where we've got some extra time, and yeah, just go to some events and have some freaking fun, network, meet some of these people that watch our videos, just go and have some fun. Because I got to say, we do love what we do, but this year with how many setbacks we've had, how sick we've been, how stressful it's been, I got to say we have not been having much fun this year. So definitely keen. Next year, more events, more things happening. You know, HQ is going to be finished very soon. That's going to be at Rocky Nats. We've got, between the Cruiser and our shop ute, we will have 2 cars that we can take to Rocky Nats if by then something else isn't finished at the very least. So, you know, things like Rocky Nats, we're going to be going to these events, getting out there, having some fun, doing some fun stuff. So anyway, stay tuned for some new announcements. There's some really important, really big announcements coming for stuff we're going to be trying, and we're really excited about it. We're really excited about 2023. I know that the content's been pretty average for 2022. I know that we haven't always been in the best mood to film or do things, but we wanted to keep making content anyway. It's just been a sad, sorry, crappy year, and we're really looking forward to 2023 with some changes and some new mindsets and some new direction, and I think it's going to be freaking wicked, and yeah, I'm excited. We're just excited about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you on the next episode. Stay peeled. Exciting stuff to come. Peace out. See you. Bye.